Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about CV. Either we're looking for a job or we are looking for a scholarship, an expert can take just 5 seconds to judge a CV. Let me introduce myself. I'm Faisal. I'm the founder and CEO of Scholarden. I've been an HR professional for the last 20 years. I have reviewed thousands of CV in the last 20 years, being an HR professional and a scholarship expert. Either you're applying for a scholarship or for the job, you need to have an impressive CV to get shortlisted. In this video, I'm going to share some valuable insights of how to make an effective CV. So let's get started. Think of CV like you're branding yourself. If you have a good brand with a good packaging, people are willing to pay more for the product. If you don't have a good packaging and don't have a good brand, people are not willing to pay valuable or high amount for that. So packaging plays a very important role. Let's take an example of an iPhone. iPhone has a very good packaging and that makes it a good brand name. Whereas if you put iPhone in a plastic bag and give it to somebody, nobody is going to pay $1,600 for it. So the same way, the CV has to be impressive. It's the first thing that actually gets in touch with either a professor, you're applying for a scholarship in the university, or you're looking for a job. So you need to give a very good first impression. So effective CV is going to help you with the next stage. Let me briefly talk about the difference between resume and CV. Resume is shorter and it's mainly for jobs. CV is more detailed and it's mainly for the academic purpose. If you're applying for the master's or PhD, you need to have a CV rather than resume. And if you're looking for a job, then you need to have a resume. Resume is according to the standard of HR professionals. For every 10 years of experience, you need to have one pager of a resume. But for CV, it can have no page limit because you need to have a detailed profile of a person. For example, if somebody is a research scholar and he has 100 research publications, so there's no limit to it because the CV can prolong to maybe 15 pages or 20 pages as well. That's why CV or curriculum vitae is lengthier than resume. Let's talk about the structure of a CV. So the first thing you need to mention on a CV is your personal details, your name, phone number, and your email address. You don't need to add any addresses or any other personal details because you need to give a very simple and good look when a professor is looking at your CV. He does not want to know about your postal address. He does not want to know your father's name. He does not want to know your marital status. You need to keep it simple and to the point. So right after your personal details, the first impression you need to add is your achievements. Why achievements are important? Because again, think of it like a brand name. So the first thing that the professor or the university looks at, how valuable you are. So you need to have a very solid achievements. So you need to add those achievements in a bullet points. After achievements, you need to add your education. Why we need to add education? Because you're applying for the academic purpose. You're applying for a scholarship or you're for studies. So you need to sound like a student. Yes, I agree that if you're applying for a job, then you might need to give a priority to your experiences. But over here, we want to show them that you're an academic person and you're applying for a program or a course and you need to sound like a good student. In education heading, you need to add your degree, your distinctions if you have, and your GPA. If your GPA is good, if your GPA is above 3.5 or is close to 3.5, then you should mention your GPA, else you should not mention your GPA because there's no point of mentioning your bad or negative aspects of profile. If your GPA is, let's suppose, 2.9, you don't need to add a GPA. It does not look very impressive. The next thing you need to add is your research. Research can be in a form of publication, ongoing research, thesis. So these are the things that you need to mention. And you need to clearly mention what type of research is that. Is it published research? Is it ongoing research? Or is it a thesis or dissertation that you had worked in the past? After research, you need to talk about experiences. So what kind of experience? Again, the teaching experience should be mentioned at the top, whereas other experience like research experience or any other industry experience needs to mention after the teaching experience or the research experience. And also the internship can be mentioned in the experiences column as well because it's also part of an experience. After experiences, you can add a heading of skills and expertise. In skills and expertise, you need to talk about your programming skills, the software, the tools you're comfortable with, you're an expert with, and it can be MS Office as well or other tools that can help you to showcase your skills as a research scholar or as a student to the committee who are going to review your case. After skills and expertise, you can talk about certification and memberships. These are not really important, but if you have any certification and membership, do mention that in your CV as well. On Scholarland, we have built some tools that can help you to make a very professional CV, which can help you to get a scholarship in the US. So based on my 9 years of experience with students who are applying for scholarships. When they approach the university for funding, the university get really impressed by their CV format and the style of CV. If you're struggling with how to make an effective CV, I would highly recommend to use a tool on Scholarland, and it comes under the domain of scholarship services as well. This template is so effective that it can make your CV in just 15 minutes, and that can make a CV with respect to the US standards to get if you're applying for education or you're applying for a scholarship in the US, mainly for the master's and PhD. After certification and membership, you can talk about academic projects. So academic projects should be mentioned if you have some academic projects apart from your thesis, or like for example your final year project or some other project that business students do, like marketing project or financial modeling project or something like that. So you can also mention those in the academic projects as well. After that, you can also mention languages, how many languages you can speak or write, and you can mention that and what is the proficiency level of those languages. Either you're a basic learner or you're a mediocre or you're an expert of that language. So you need to mention that in your CV as well. If you, for example, some people can speak 4 or 5 languages, you need to mention those as well. Then we can also talk about volunteer experiences. So if you have some volunteer experience, you can also mention about that in your CV as well. And it can add value if you're applying for the undergrad program, but for the master's and PhD, it's not really important. But if you have some volunteer experience, do mention that. It will showcase your profile, like how much you're willing to go out of the way to help somebody. Apart from that, you can also mention your interest. Interest can be something which is non-academic in nature. For example, you like reading, you like swimming, you like listening to music, or you like watching movies or stuff like that. So do mention that as well in your CV in the interest section. Lastly, I would like to say that references. So some people, they do mention references in the CV as well. So I would say don't mention it, because if you're already applying for a scholarship, you already have letter of recommendation, so you're already getting references letter from 2 to 3 either professors or supervisors, so you don't need to mention that as well. So it's really important to understand that when somebody looks at your CV, it starts from the top. The importance is given to the things that you have mentioned at the top. So for example, you have mentioned your achievements, so the professor or the admission committee or the person who is going to review your CV will look at the things that you have mentioned at the top with more importance or with more focus. The person is going to look at the bottom end of the CV, his interest is going to lose. So it's really important that you put important stuff at the top, so that a person who is going to look at your CV should get impressed, rather than you put the important stuff at the bottom of your CV. So it's very important that you should take care of these things. And in the next video, I'll be sharing about the do's and don'ts of CV, so that you should not make those mistakes ever again.
I hope you like this video. If you have any questions, do mention in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.